Thank you so much for the interest in my work. In this video, I share with you my techniques and tips on how I achieve smiling eyes and pale skin tone. I will be covering the outline, the underdrawing, the rich colour stage and the detail stage. So be sure to watch it right through till the end, because here and there I'll be slowing things down in real time so you can take a closer look. So let's dive in and take a look. Doing the outline freehand. Now I put a centre point in my reference image and my board, and then from there I use imaginary angles to find the shapes, so I see everything as shapes rather than an eye, an eyebrow and nose and so on. Just keeping it nice and basic, using horizontal plane to find the alignment of where these shapes are. It's a little bit of a guesswork to start with. You've got to start somewhere, but it sort of builds up more and more into refinement, and you check one area against another then. But start off very loose and then you start to sort of tidy everything up. Now I use a Faber-Castell kneadable eraser just to sort of sculpture the shape. So I put a line in and then maybe just rub it out and then redraw it sometimes. So it's just a case of just sort of having a play and just keeping relaxed. The more you just relax, the more it just falls into place. Keeping everything nice and straightforward. These are the colours I'm using for the underdrawing. And for the shadows, I'm using these colours here, dark green and cold red and brown. Just ghosting the image now with a kneadable eraser. Just take the excess grey off and start off with the white. Now the white of the eyes I'm using orange and blue. It makes great greys, really good for teeth as well, that is. If it's a cooler grey, use more blue. If it's warmer, use more orange. I'm just going to run through this quite quickly, the underdrawing, so I want to spend more time with the rich colour stage and detail stage, explaining that in real time. So using brown and blue for the shadow areas, not using black at this stage because it's easy to change up, you see, if it's just brown and blue. And just basically what I'm interested in is just getting the shape. So what I'm doing is redrawing the outline, creating form using basic colours, and it gives me the idea then that the shapes are right. So I'm not interested in getting the value right or the chroma or the temperature. All it is getting some basic colour down, basic form, and to feel the portrait, or in this case the study. Now it's all done very lightly, and what this does as well, it acts as a vehicle. This pigment you're putting on now acts as a vehicle, so it makes it easier to apply the richer colours then later on. It's a really nice stage this is, because it helps you to create loose marks and it keeps everything sort of flowing, and it's nice just to have that freedom just to move things around and just getting these basic colours in. So I'm using the blue and the red, so if it's a cooler red I'm using more blue with it, making it a cold red, and then putting a bit of yellow ochre here and there to warm things up, and then using green and red to desaturate. Now for the hair I'm just using two colours, just brown and white, just to get the basic sort of structure in there. So you're just mapping it out really and getting an idea where the flow of the hair is, ready for the next stage. Now to get the rich colours I'm using the Faber-Castell white and the Caran d'Ache white and the pink white from the Caran d'Ache as well. So I'll be using these to get that sort of freshness. The Carbothello white, you can't get that freshness with it. Now these are the other colours I'll be using, so I'm using those but adding more pigment to create more richer, vibrant colours. I always have a play when I first start with the rich colours, so I'm using the Faber-Castell white and then using that pink white and then just glaze over with the blue, and just to see how it feels, and then make colour notes then from other areas. So if I try and get a few areas in, then it gives me an idea then how to match the other shades, if you know what I mean. So if you get your lightest areas in, it helps you to judge the other areas. It takes a while to get that sort of built up of pigment, so you just keep building it up layer after layer and using different marks and squiggles just to get that texture, because every layer creates the texture you're looking for the skin tone, because it's not smooth. Now I decided to use cold red in the mix now rather than using blue and warm red. So you change things as you go along, you see, you get a feel for it. And I'm using the green and the red to desaturate it, which creates like a grey colour for the skin tone, and then go over them with the Faber-Castell to create that freshness. And I'm sort of just glazing the blue and red here because it's more purple in this area. So you're just getting a sort of play a feel for it to start with. If you're enjoying this video, why not subscribe? It's absolutely free, and then you're sure not to miss any of my future videos. Using the Faber-Castell white again for that richer, vibrant white, and then glaze over the top of that later on. Now for the white of the eyes, I'm putting more pigment down now to get that sort of colour saturation. I'm starting to use more of earbuds now for softening and blending, so just dab rather than rub, and then just turn it so you get a clean part of it. Just helps to sort of reduce that graininess of it when you first start applying the pigment. Just going to get a feel now for the darkest areas of the portrait, where it's the eyelashes here and the pupil. So I'm using the brown again to start with. I'm adding a little black. I've always add something with the black, so I'm using a bit of blue there just to chill it out a bit, because you don't want it too stark. I'm just building up these sort of values as well, so I don't go too heavy to start with. It's slow progress. And then adding that sort of white highlight in the pupil, and decided just to have a play now for just positioning of these eyelashes. So I'm using brown to start with, just getting a feel from where they are. Now the rich colour stage, it's about getting the values, the chroma and the temperature something like. So I'm not too fussed about getting these really fine details in at this point. That will come on later on in the video. Now I've added another pencil to the mix now. This is the 5% skin tone colour from the Caran d'Ache. And just adding that in, all it is yellow ochre, white and a little bit of red. So it's just an ideal pencil really, just to get those warmer areas in. Just like to take this opportunity to thank all my patrons for all their wonderful support every month. I can't thank you enough. If you're considering joining me on Patreon and would like the benefit of longer, slower and more in-depth video, please check out the link in the description below for more details. Now everything I put on me Patreon now is in real-time audio, real-time video, so you get to see all the footage. It's a very small amount each month, so please check that out. If you're interested, the link is in the description below. You just have to keep persevering with the colours, you know, just keep mixing those different reds together with the blues just to create that sort of freshness. And also being used to just leaving things half finished as well, because like I mentioned, the rich colour stage is still a blocking stage. I'm just getting an idea, more of an idea where things lie, so you're mapping everything out like I'm doing here, but then I'll leave it and then come back later when everything is in place, so I get to know what's the right colours and balance before I start putting the details in. So I'm trying to get a balance of the overall shades and that before I add the details. At every stage I'm connecting to the energy of the person. Even though this is just a study, I can still sense the feeling of the person behind the eyes in the skin tone as well. So the way to do that is to bring that image into you, so draw it from inside your heart rather than coming outside of yourself, because if you come outside of yourself with tunnel vision, you'll be looking at the details too much and you'll get overwhelmed by it. Just see it as fun and play. Just be quite fascinated by all the different colours and subtleties, and fascinated by the energy, because even the smallest part of the skin tone, there's that feeling of that person in there, and I'm trying to connect to that all the time by just letting go of the mind, keeping myself out of the way, let go of control and just let it all come from your heart, just let it flow from you. just using the pencil in squiggles and movement, so just sense the movement and the texture of the skin tone and just let the movements just flow and happen. For the hair, I'm just doing basic sort of highlights here and there, just adding that little bit more richness, but all the details again will be in later on. Now for the detail stage, and it's all about getting that sort of more refinement, so it's smaller circles. I'm putting the Faber-Castell white in here because it's more fresher, so you've got to feel where areas more fresher and areas which is more subtle. And what I'm doing is just glazing over this white with the different colours like blue, yellow and red. And it's just a combination of those three colours really, and which is the primaries really. So this is the ultramarine light I'm using, and then just add that sort of texture again. So you keep adding the texture, glaze over, adding the texture until you get that sort of feel right. Now for the eyes now, just to get that sort of smiling look, just got to get that sort of value right and the shape of the eye as well. So I'm readjusting things and feeling the personality, the energy, and feeling it in my heart. So I'm expanding out, so I'm sending my heart out to the reference image, and all that energy and feelings coming back into my heart and out of me fingertips. So it's just a matter of just keeping relaxed and just really enjoying connection, feeling, and then just let these movements just happen. I'm adding a bit of lemon yellow here and there in order to create more chroma. So that's another thing you've got to be aware of, is it's not just about values and the shades, it's about how things glow. So some areas glow more than others, so I'm just adding that bit of lemon yellow here and there just to lift it up. And then I'm tinting areas then over that glaze with the Carbothello white. Being more aware now of the subtleties as well, so there's little bits of dashes and things. It's just a matter of just getting that texture, just keep building up the temperature, feeling what's warmer, what's cooler, just adding more blue when it's cooler, adding more warm red when it's warmer, and lemon yellow. It's a good idea at this point as well to keep stepping back, having a look at it at a distance. Also turn your back to it, look through a mirror over your shoulder, see a different angle to it, a reflection of it. It brings out more things that need work on, so it's a good idea to keep doing that. And basically what I'm doing is just refining everything now and just adding that temperature like I mentioned, changing things up, lightening things up, darkening things. It's just looking at the overall feel of it. It's all about feeling for me really. I just try and create the energy, and if it doesn't feel right, it needs attention. So I'm not looking at the details so much, it's just if something's not right, it just feels like it needs attention, and that's what I go by, my instinct, and I just keep adding to it. If you're interested in wanting to know how I create shadows using complementary colours, I have got a free class for you. The link is in the description below. I use this same method to create shadows no matter what I'm doing, whether it's landscapes, pets, wildlife. So please check out the link in the description below after you've seen the video if you're interested. Now the key to all this is patience and perseverance really. The more you keep playing with it and the more you keep doing, the more it develops. See it as fun and really enjoy the fascination mixing the colours, and it'll keep you relaxed, and everything just sort of happens after a while. The more you do it, the more it'll develop. So there's a tendency to get overwhelmed if you overthink it and then you just give up, because it does look, pastels do tend to look a bit messy when you first do them, but with more sort of refinement and it's perseverance which is the key, it all comes together in the end. Just slowing this section down here so you can see what I'm doing here with the sort of texture and how I'm creating it. And it's so important with the skin tone is not to make it look too smooth. Again, I'm not following every mark the same as what the reference image is. I'm just letting that texture just happen by just bringing that reference image into my heart like I mentioned earlier. This will keep everything relaxed because you're not trying to make a carbon copy, so to speak. You're creating your own interpretation, and it's just a feeling you get. And just put the marks in similar, but don't try and put everything exactly the same. It'll just drive you nuts, that would. If you're enjoying this video, why not give it a like and share it with your friends? It would mean so much to me because this would help the channel to grow. With the eyelashes, I'm just letting the pencil just slightly go across the surface, and the texture of the pastel mat, the tooth of it, will just take the pigment off the pencil. So I'm not putting any pressure at all. I never do that. It's just slightly light pressure, layer after layer after layer, and that's another key thing, is not to add too much pigment. Build it up slowly, and then once you're happy with the position, then you can start firming it up and putting more pressure on then. So I really recommend putting that lighter touch to it first and then build it up as your layer progresses. Now I'm quite selective really of the marks. I'm not putting too much in there because I mean it is actually your suggestion, your sort of take on the subject. And you're creating your own expression really. So it's a matter of just what not to put in sometimes. So I'm sort of minimising the details, because you can put too much in and it can look too sort of aged, you know, and I think people like to be sort of flattered, so it's always a good thing, especially if it's a commission, is not to put too many lines in and sort of spots and things. It's just to be more selective. For the freckles, I'm using the olive green and then just a touch of cold red, and then I'll go over with white tintum. So it's just a case of just putting that little hint of freckles, not going too heavy again with the pencil, very light pressure. Now I've added more lemon yellow and warm red to this area because it glows more, so I'm just refining that a bit. Now this is a great tool to have in your kit. It's called a colour shaper. It's got a silicone tip and it acts like a brush really. You just move pigments around, but you're just dabbing on it, don't scrape it really, it's just little dabs. And I keep wiping the tip every time I use it and get into a habit of doing that, then it keeps things nice and clean. But it just feels like you're using a brush really, because you're just moving pigment around on your board. It's great to use. Now there's little highlight glints on here, so I'm using the pink white and then just glazing over them with the ultramarine blue and the red, just to create more of a purpley colour, but then that light shines through, then it keeps that glinty feel to it. So that's how I'm doing that, but I'm being very selective, not putting too much in there. It's what to take out sometimes, or what to leave out. Now with the hair, I'm just adding that sort of more richer colour by using the burnt sienna, olive green, and then the ultramarine blue, and then just highlighting it again. So it's the same sort of principle. Thank you so much for watching the video right till the end. I really appreciate it. Interesting study. Even though it's pale skin, there's so many different colours. There's blues, there's purples, pinks, yellows. Fascinating to do. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. That will help the channel to grow. I'd really appreciate it. If there's any questions at all, please leave a message in the comment section below this video and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. In the meantime, if you'd like to see any more of my work, please check out this video here. Take care. Bye.